right, we're back here for episode 3. How are you, Travis?
I'm doing good. How you
That's,
doing?
I'm doing fantastic, man. Thank you,
Alright, good.
thank you. So, we're gonna continue our conversation from last episode. So, let's go back to your high school days. Let's say
High
during
school
your
days.
high school days, your freshman year.
Freshman.
What sticks out when you think about your that period of life? I mean,
Oh, that's a good question. Alright. So freshman year, I was riding a World Industries deck. I was in the World Industry decks as far as riding went early into high school. So I was riding a lot of those decks. I remember one of them was, I believe, a Marcus McBride. So that was just one of the decks that I skated. Don't quote me on that for sure. I'm pretty sure that was one of them though. But I know World Industries was what I was hitting a lot of when I was skating, and that was the board I was riding mostly in high school in the early years. And then in between there too, also consolidated. I rode a couple of consolidated decks, and I just switched them up. Yeah, about for the first freshman year, those are the main decks. So
that's awesome, man.
yeah.
And do you remember what brand of skateboards did you rode on that time?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. It was at World Industries. That's pretty much the same thing. It was at World Industries, and as I think a little bit more, I rode a couple blind decks as well. So there it goes a little more in depth. So that helps that question out. So
That's awesome, man.
yeah.
Can you think of any? I mean, just try to think of some interesting stories to share with our family out here, skateboarding family out
Oh,
here.
that's a good
Anything
way
you
to put it.
remember?
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. It's a skateboard family out there. All right.
Mhm.
Well, the freshman year, I'll just start with first pops to mind. In metals class, I was making rails to grind on, to skate on,
Oh.
of multiple types, and I was designing the blueprint, the design that I created, and then get the product, and that was using iron, cast iron, steel, and I was welding it all. It all went down in the metal shop. So I was fortunate enough to have a metals teacher let me weld stuff I wanted to skate. So,
Mhm.
and that was awesome. So being able to do what I wanted to skate was really great. So as I'm building those, okay, all right, now we get to it. Okay, some stuff pops in there. So as I'm building, okay, when you in the metal shop, there's booths, and there's a curtain you pull, obviously, so people don't get blinded when they're not wearing the mask for when you're welding, or your welding shield, whatever you want to call it. And I'd be welding, and people thought it was funny because I was a skater. I always had frayed pants, and there's a safety hazard to have frayed pants, but I just left mine frayed all the time, and everybody else had straight edge pants, with a straight seam and a hem. So I thought it'd be funny to always light my hems and my jeans on fire. And so I'd be in the middle of welding, and I just feel my leg hair just starting to burn and singe and melt. And it literally would my leg would light on fire, and I had to take everything off, throw the mask down, drop everything, what I was doing, jump out into the middle of the metal shop, stop, drop, and roll to put myself out from when friends would light my pants on fire when I was welding these skate rails. So, but the funny part is, it didn't end there, so to get them back, and I don't recommend this as totally against all safety, so don't try this at home, children. So what I would do is when they had their mask on and when they're welding in a welding booth, I wouldn't light their pants on fire. I'd sneak up on them when they had their mask on and torch going. You couldn't hear me behind them. And I'd sneak up with my torch and I'd heat up their pliers, and I'd make those pliers red hot. And I'd just heat them up until they're glowing. And because I knew the first thing they did once they took down and pounded off their weld is they put the hammer down, and they usually take their gloves off and they go for the pliers just because they forget that pliers can possibly be hot. And there's a couple of the guys that got really good. They grabbed those pliers, and they got marks on their hands now to this day just from lighting my pants on fire with that. But the cool stoked part about it was I got to take those rails out, and it was a metal shop, so they had to drop the metal off in there. So there's a small parking area, and the school kind of wrapped around it. So there's a middle parking lot area, so people in the school could see that little like lunch truck delivery drop-off parking lot that I would use to practice on the rails to make sure they're fit to the size I wanted them to be. I made dual coping rails that would be slanted a little bit. I would have other rails that were just bars, and like some of them look like bumpers, but they'd be welded flat, just making weird bars, weird obstacles to skate. As I made all those to skate, little did I know when I skated them all the time and was practicing, which I was in school, so I was welding half the time when I was in class, and the other half the time I was in class I was getting to skate those rails. But everybody in the windows and all the classes, I never realized it, but they wouldn't focus on English or history or whatever they're doing. They would look out the window, and I would hear about like a year later how they would all just watch, and the teachers were so distracted because the students couldn't keep their eyes off of me skating in the parking lot, always testing out my rails because they were just stuck in class, and I was over there designing, creating rails to skate in metals class, and it was an awesome experience, awesome class, great course. Passed it with an A+, plus I got to take home so many grind rails, at least a dozen, and I ended up giving them all away to younger skaters and friends. And before I gave them away, we'd put them over gaps, and so then we'd have bars over gaps from parking lot to parking lot. We put a bar there, and we'd create spots. It was really cool. So we used that for creation.
That's awesome,
There's a
man.
good story there with the welding. Freshman year got me into where I started making obstacles, and that was really fun.
Awesome. You made quite a few friends back then too, I guess. Freshman year.
Yeah. And speaking of the friends, at the same time, all the friends united. We were a family, and even our families were involved because we had to get a skate park made in our town. So we all got together, we petitioned, we got a skate park built, and it turned out to be a skate park. And we had a skate park. It wasn't exactly what we really wanted, but it worked. It was a skate park. We had a place to skate. It worked. It was better than what we had, and that was awesome.
That's awesome, man.
After that, I just want to throw in there, we did dedicate that skate park to my friend Kevin Voll. He is a dear friend, R.I.P. We got the skate park named after him, and he was the man that taught me how to do my front side board slide. So now every time I do a front side board slide, he's the guy that taught me, and we got the park named after him, and that was great.
Right on, man.
That was really cool.
Shout out to Kevin, man.
Yeah, shout out to Kevin Voll.
Awesome,
R.I.P.
man.
bro. And then the skate park itself, talking friends and dropping in the ramps, that was a big kick too when I was younger. Talking people and to drop it into a ramp, oh, it was awesome. They would be questioning if they could do it or not, and I'd be like, yeah, you got this. In the back of my mind, I'd be looking at my friends being like, nah, he ain't got this. He ain't got this at all. This is going to be awesome. If you got a camera, pull it out. But nobody had camera phones at the time, so it didn't happen like that. I wish we could have, but I had so many people I'd talk in to drop in on a ramp that just wasn't made to drop in on a ramp, and they would fall, and it was appealing to all the friends. They'd get up and they'd learn, and eventually, after dropping in from falling, they would learn to skate. So that was a good thing about it.
Right on, man. Thank you for sharing, man. We're running out of time for tonight, a little bit here, but we'll be back next week for the next episode, man. I just wanted to briefly talk about your high school experience.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, those
today,
are the early years of it. So
cool,
yeah.
man. Well, Travis, thanks a lot for your time again, man. Thank you for
Definitely.
sharing some cool stories, man.
Yeah.
You have a good night, brother.
Yeah, shout out.